I think it's really funny how officials in the Israeli government is pissed at various nations for recognizing Palestine as a state because now they honestly can't say that Palestine isn't a state and that they can do whatever they want to Palestinians because they don't have a state, which in a sense means they don't have any rights. Uh, the Israeli government is recalling envoys from Ireland, Norway, and Spain because these are three nations recognizing Palestine as a state. Um, they're just throwing a temper tantrum, thinking that this is going to be punishment against Ireland, Norway, and Spain, which isn't going to work. They don't care what the Israeli government is claiming. They're following laws and recognizing people's right to exist.
Is anger here from this right-wing government particularly, and in addition to recalling Israel's envoys from the three European countries, Israel's foreign minister is calling those ambassadors in for stern words. And I think it's been reported in the Israeli media that he will explain to them that in the view of Israel, this is a reward to Hamas for its actions on October the 7th. You know, the wrong action.
Nobody's rewarding Hamas for anything. Um, the UN and the nations that recognize Palestine as a because it's now most of the world is recognizing Palestine as a state. They want to remove Hamas and have the Palestinian Authority from the West Bank be the leading government in the state of Palestine.
At the wrong time is the Israeli point of view. And I think if you're looking to what we heard from France today, there's the possibility that this could be extended, with France saying today it's not taboo at all. It has to be effective. And that is what is the consideration in Paris or for Paris. So that's one thing. I think you're looking at a series of diplomatic blows. This follows on yesterday or earlier this week when we heard that the International Criminal Court is considering issuing arrest warrants for two Israeli leaders, the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister, an unprecedented step. And then we have heard that Washington is organising something that Benjamin Netanyahu has long worked towards, which would be normalisation of relations with Saudi Arabia. But that's something diplomatic that doesn't look as if it's going to happen because
The Israeli government is just isolating itself more and more with every action that it takes. They think the Israeli government that the Israeli government is above all laws and that, like with the US, that everybody has to bow down to what they want. When now most of the world is against what the Israeli government is doing to the people of Palestine, and the Israeli government is not going to be able to get away with it any longer. People are tired of it, and the Israeli government thinks that everybody has to just obey what they want and allow the Israeli government to genocide Palestinians.
the price is not right for this right-wing government. The price would be ending the war in Gaza and some kind of recognition of a Palestinian state to come. So I think it's a series of diplomatic blows. There's still shock in Israel. People are reeling from this. It's the equivalence, I think, is what is so offensive to them, that there's an equivalence between the leaders of Israel and the leaders of Hamas, a designated terrorist group in Europe and in the United States.
But nobody's equivocating Israel to Hamas. They're both being punished for their own crimes. It's insane how the Israeli government is trying to use the argument that they shouldn't that the ICC shouldn't be issuing arrest warrants because that's somehow equivocating the Israeli government with Hamas. And yes, the Israeli government is a terrorist organization, a terrorist government, even if they don't want to admit it themselves. I mean, look at what happens in the West Bank, where they're stealing land. The IDF is goes to the West Bank and kills people. The Israeli government is arming Israeli settlers to kill Palestinians. That's terrorism. especially when it's considered illegal for that to happen. And it's illegal for settlers to steal land in the West Bank to create settlements. That what they're doing is terrorism, and that makes them terrorists.
And I think they understand that it's different for a democracy. You know, it's the first time a democratic leader would be so charged if the ICC prosecutors' recommendations are taken up. And
And the Israeli government is not a democratic nation. They're a fascist government that is bent on genocide and murder. They torture people, they kidnap people, they murder innocent civilians, they will murder journalists, they will shut down media that isn't bending to their will or uh, showing evidence that the Israeli government is committing crimes. Look at Al Jazeera and now the Associated Press, who had Al Jazeera got shut down, and the Associated Press had stuff stolen from them, and a camera stream shut down because it was showing uh, airstrikes by the Israeli government on innocent civilians. That's not democratic to do. That's fascist.
that means something. You know, they're describing it here using the biblical expression, a mark of Cain. So they are now talking, after the fuming is dying down a little, about a diplomatic solution being the only one. But at the same time as they're looking for an international diplomatic solution, the most right-wing member of this government, Itamar Ben-Gvir, head of his own Jewish Power Party, this morning went up to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, known to Jews as the Temple Mount. That's something he hasn't done since October the 7th and hasn't done for about a year. It's a very controversial step. And from there, he announced his criticism of the European nations. So if you really
Yeah, who cares if this one dude is criticizing the European nation? You got pretty much every single nation in the world criticizing the government for their crimes, and the Israeli government, all they want to do is throw temper tantrums, acting like a child, thinking they get to do whatever they want because they're somehow special.
want a diplomatic solution, I don't know that this was a diplomatic step, and it's been reported in the Israeli media that this was done in coordination with or with the knowledge of